Welcome to Creative Courage Chats, a search for a new understanding of creativity and problem solving. I'm Alex Raffi. Hey everybody, welcome to another Creative Courage Chats. So I'm here with Sondra and her son. I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Harper.
Oh, Harper.
Harper.
Harper. Sorry, I'm here with Sondra and Harper, and they own a great little shop over in Oregon. And I bumped into them on our last trip, and I walked in there, and it's fantastic. And it's like I walked in, and you know that creativity is like my religion. And all I saw, okay, it's hard to describe what I saw, but when I walked in, it's the grotto is what you're calling it. And that's where you're sitting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all painted and it looks amazing right now. But they're halfway through it. And it was like I walked, I was in a, it was in a, like a cave in Mars or something, on Mars or something. It was like this interesting stuff, and it was all being worked on. And it was fascinating. And then I got to talk to them, and I found out that you are an artist. And then you showed me some of your fabulous artwork. And it was very exciting. And it's a little, boy, that thing is hidden. Your shop is hidden. It's like,
yeah,
there's signs outside, and Yelp got me there. And but we had to hunt it down. And so this is exciting for me to talk to you, because I think that I'm sure that you've had this experience, and I'd love to hear a little bit about it, how people respond to your shop and the uniqueness of it, and what it is you're trying to do. But anyway, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your space?
Okay. My name's Sondra Carr, and my shop is called Weird Sisters Freak Boutique. And what we sell is anything freaky. That's the way that we present ourselves. And because of that, we also have a freaky shop. There's a lot of sculpture. I think of the shop as sort of a shop inside of an art installation. So the grotto is just an extension of the art installation that is the rest of the shop. So actually, Harper and I were just talking about the way that the way that grotto came about was actually an interesting story. So Harper is a singer and a voice actor, and I would walk into the shop when he was watching everything, and he was singing songs and serenading people in the shop. And for a minute I thought, oh, some people might be upset about that, right? Like, you know, when you first start a shop, you're like a little bit afraid.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of the shop was to be not afraid, to actually allow creativity to sort of, you know,
have some creative courage.
Yeah, exactly. So it really bothered me, because I took him aside and I'm like, I don't know if everybody, maybe you should, you know, be a little careful about that kind of thing, you know. And then I immediately felt bad about it, because why would I want my son to not have that, you know, why did I start a shop where he has to be afraid of being what he is? So I was thinking about, like, how could it be okay for everybody if he did this? And the way it could be okay is if we make it a part of what we're doing. So I had him start a serenade station. So he made a menu, and he put it up in back of for a while it was up in back of the cash register, and people would say, what's a serenade station? and he'd be like, $5 and I'll sing Sinatra for you. And it was this huge hit, and he made like $35 just off of songs. And so then we just expanded the idea. So the grotto is actually, it used to be my office, believe it or not. This was my office back here. Yeah. And I came up with this idea to start an experience bar. One of the experiences is the Serenade Station, which was the first inspiration for this. And then we built a whole bunch of other quirky, fun experiences for people to have. Just ways to interact. No alcohol in this bar, just weird experiences. So
that's great. That's fantastic. That I totally get the second guessing. Because you're a business owner and you're like, oh, you know, you don't want to annoy people. But right. I love the fact that you said, no, the point of this thing is to expose people to new things and interesting things, and also how supportive you are as a parent also of his art, which is incredibly important, you know, and his ability to express himself, because that just makes people smarter. You know, people that have been given leeway to explore a little bit and it takes a lot of guts, man, to do that. You know, to sit there and say, "Let me sing to you." Not a lot of people can just do that. You know?
I know.
Are you waiting for me to ask you to sing something? Are you just waiting? You're just chomping at the bit.
Yeah, he's totally waiting.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Whenever, if I were you, I would just like hold off a little bit though.
Yeah.
Just like make him wait. It'll be
I
really
agree.
great video.
It has to be short. If you do it, it has to be short. Okay. I don't want like a whole song because Sinatra goes too long.
I got short things.
Yeah, do something short. But yeah, we'll do it in a little bit. But so you're an artist. Did you start off as an artist? Or
Yeah.
was it a hobby or was it something you're focusing on? Because it looks like your attitude towards your art, you kind of just applied it to life, looks like.
Yeah. Everything in life is art to me. So I started in a really classical, like a kind of classical form that doesn't even exist anymore. Somehow I ended up getting a stone sculpting apprenticeship when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I had that for 2 years. Then I went to school and thought I was going to be a fine artist. And, you know, I learned 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional art. I'm a painter too. And I kind of reached a point where the traditional art started feeling like factory work to me. You know, I mean, when I was pretty good at it, and when you're good at things, people just want you to keep doing, that same thing over and over again. So at a certain point, actually late in life, I went back to school to study sculpture, and we all moved to Montreal. I took my kids with me, and I studied in a really conceptual program, and it blew my mind about what was actually out in the world. Like I had not explored any of that because I was in this really tight little, this box that I was supposed to be in and didn't want to be in. So at that point, I went on the road with my kids. We went to Burning Man. We started exploring all these like outsider, really wacky.
That's in my neighborhood.
Right. And then I don't know it. Yeah. I mean, it has been all of my life. I come from an artistic, creative family, and both my kids are creative too in their own ways. So yeah, that's how it came about.
It is actually a powerful thing. Just and I think that some people don't think about that. I mean, where you think that you're kind of born with it. I think what we're born with is we all must be creative. All of us are creative. My view.
I agree.
And yeah, because for me, creativity is problem solving. And who's not solving problems, right? Everybody's figuring out and solving problems and stuff. And I've said this to my like a million times. But creativity is simply taking a bird and taking a horse and putting them together and making a Pegasus, right? You're taking two different things and you're bringing them together to make something new. And that's what problem solving is. I take this concept and this concept, bring it together, and I come up with a solution. And so I think that a lot of times creative mind, especially parents that are open, and we always let the kids color, but we think it's just entertainment, but it's learning, and we're figuring out who we are and where we're going and what we're doing. And stuff. So you having such a unique place, an interesting place, and it seems that people discover it rather than head towards it. Is that more of a chance? They just.
Well, I mean, we do advertise, but it's having a shop is location. I chose specifically the worst location to put this shop. I mean, it was. I'm taking a risk.
So right here at this point, I'm going to make sure there's a big map. And
okay.
We're pinpoint right exactly where you are on the map.
Right.
I'll edit that in, and then we'll go. Okay, go.
So we're actually located inside a building that looks like an office building from the outside. I mean, you do have to really be looking for it, or have heard about it, or whatever. But down inside of the building, there was like an art teacher for the a school librarian, who is an artist and an art collector who bought this building sometime in the past. His name's Mr. Foster, and he decided he was going to put a little historical town underground in this building, in the basement of the building. So there's like an underground in Astoria, like there are in all these port cities, but there's no real
There's a
access.
skeleton of a pirate in a cell down there too.
Right. So he put like a Shanghai cell over in the corner, and like it has all these kind of historical looking buildings down here, but it never really took off. But he had this really fun, weird idea, right? And this was 10, 15 years ago, and it never really took off because Astoria at that time was really like a fishing logging town, you know, and he was just this one interesting, fun person. And when we first did this, this man's cousin, he passed away, but his cousin, I believe, came out and saw us while we were working on it, and she said, oh, he would have loved what you're doing here because he was that kind of a guy, you know. He was an artist and an art collector, and he started this creative weird thing that he did down here, you know. And it just never, he made the foundation, you know, that we were able to build on.
So what's your goal for someone who comes into your, what do you want them to leave with? What do you want them to experience when they show up there and look through those things and see your art? What do you want? What are you looking for them to leave with?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we discovered, so I told you about how we were, like, I was a little afraid of turning people off in the beginning, right? That went away really quickly. Because I very quickly realized that I wanted to turn certain people off. And if I wasn't afraid of that, like if I was just going to be putting what we wanted to express out there, it attracted all the right people, you know. So some people are just love it, and some people very quickly know that they do not like it, and then they walk away, which is totally okay. and easier on me, really, and easier on him if he's watching the shop. So so I think like for the people who like it, they seem to be like, it's more like a hub. This is their place, and that's why another reason why we built the experience bar. Like, this is a place where you feel comfortable to hang out. And it might sound weird that you feel comfortable sitting in a cave, but some people do, and they don't have that experience anywhere, you know. And
are the acoustics good in there?
I think they're not really acoustics. It's foam, so it's kind of deadening. Yeah. How is the sound coming across here?
It's great. No, it's good. No, I'm saying as a recording place, it's probably not a bad spot, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But oh man, what was I going to ask you? It's like while you were talking, I was thinking I was going to ask you about something.
You mind if I go on?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So in a broader sense, though, I've thought a lot about this. I mean, the reason why I wanted to have my own business for the same reason everyone wants to have their own business, because they don't want to work for anybody else.
Right.
And as a creative person, you know, one of the things that we always face is, how do I manage my time between doing something creative and making a living? You know, and it's really hard to make a living as an artist. So what I want to do, and I'm not there yet, but what I want to do is, at the time when I can hire outside of my family, and I'm kind of testing with my family here, and they're helping, like we're all kind of figuring this out together. Yeah. But I want to be able to offer a working experience that is also a creative experience. Like when the experience bar is open, I'm going to probably hire some part-timers to test some of this stuff out. But if I mean, with small shops, you can't pay much more than minimum wage. And so most people don't. But what I could do is give them time to be creative while they're at work. So when it's not really, you know, like when there aren't a whole lot of customers, there's one customer sitting at the experience bar, there's no reason why you can't be painting or writing a book or singing, you know, and exploring your own creativity while you're at work. There's a sort of like double dipping goes. So that's a benefit. Like as an artist, when I was struggling with that, if somebody had said, hey, I can only pay you minimum wage, but you can get tips for selling this completely nothing called experiences, and we have a tip jar out there and people will tip you, so you might make more than minimum wage that way. And if you're not that kind of person, if you're more of a shy person, you can bring your art in and you can be working on it while you're here at work, so you don't have to. So maybe it can sort of balance out this problem with capitalism, you know, where you have to be here, you have to be so attentive to everything, and we're just trying to squeeze every little thing out of, minimum wage workers. So that's those kind of problems I think about, quite a bit. Like there's some potential if you're a business owner who believes in making a better world. I think in some it's going to take creativity, right? Like it'll take creativity to figure out how to do that, and caring about something more than just the money.
Wow. Wow. Your mom's cool, dude.
I know, right?
Yeah. She's a cool lady. And she also looks young enough to be your sister, which is kind of.
No, he just looks very old.
That's what it is. He looks just, you're aging too fast.
It's a double-breasted suit.
That's what it is. That's what it is. No, I think that I knew you were unique when you said, you want to see my studio? This is my sculpture. Touch the nipple. Not many people have ever said that to me before. That'll be explained.
Usually I have a sign on that, so I'll send you some video so you can put it in there. Yeah. Usually I have a sign sitting next to that sculpture that says, "Don't touch the nipple," and that's really important. It's really important because only the right kind of people will actually touch the nipple and get the reward. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was just great. That was so great.
And the reward is that they're going to hear my son sing a little clip from Rocky Horror Picture Show's "Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me." But don't tell CPS. He was like 15 when he recorded that. I'm a terrible mom. I'm a really bad
mom. That's so friggin' funny. That's so good. Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. I love your approach. I think that's important. I think that it's innovative. And as a business owner, man, you create an environment that values your people, and it's very important. I try to do that in my office as well, where because there's nothing more important than the people that are working for you, and if you want people to give you more than the value of a paycheck, you need to show that you value them in some way, shape, or form.
And value what they value too, not just like, it's so easy to say I value you, but like what I want to value is their dreams. Like that going through that with my son about the Serenade Station was my teaching moment about that. It was like, I don't want him to feel like this is just any other job. I want him to know that I value what he values, what is important to him. And I know that this is a job. It's going to be just a job because people who work for you have their own dreams. And I think that's often where bosses go wrong. They just assume, you're here working for me and I'm giving you a paycheck, so therefore it's just about my dream. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right way to look at it.
That's great. So I talk about, there's a portion in my book where I talk about moments of discovery. So, because one of the things I think is important for people to do when they're thinking of creativity, one of the things that which you've already kind of expressed, is we never stop learning something new about ourselves, right? You figure, oh, there's nobody I know better in the world than myself. I know better than myself. But that's actually not true. There's a lot of things about ourselves we don't know. Yeah. Art is a great way to learn, or even there's certain ways to learn. And one of the suggestions I give people is to think back in your life on moments of discovery, moments that something happened to you that puts you on a path that headed you in the direction where you're at right now. Something could be something someone's told to you, could be something that happened to you. Could both of you share one of those moments with me that put you on this path of where you ended up right now?
Do you have some?
Honestly, my story is super lame. I've always been a little bit interested in singing, for sure. And I always enjoyed entertainment like movies. But it wasn't until I was around, I'd say 13, when I realized something that I didn't ever know before. And that is, I knew movies and stuff were made by people who aren't the characters, obviously. But I never thought I could do that. When I saw people online starting to experiment and create their own shows, that sort of just brought it all face hitting me right in the face.
Yeah.
I could do this.
Yeah. So you saw someone
want-
that encouraged you to go ahead and try something new.
Exactly.
So what was your first moment when do you remember when you sang for someone?
When I first sang, when I first sang for someone, honestly, the whole music side of this, I definitely have her to thank for. When I was a kid, she would always sing to me, and she would always choose these really interesting songs to
Weird.
sing.
I sang
songs.
really weird lullabies.
Yeah.
Well, I used to put my daughter to sleep to Iggy Pop, so.
But those just stuck with me the whole time, and so I always had that music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And as I grew older, I grew more appreciation for it and grew more interested, which led me to take it seriously and learn how to sing myself.
So when you sing to someone, you've done it a few times, right?
Mm-hmm. I've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day he sings to customers.
I've worked it out where I can sing at any job I have, pretty much.
Now after you sing, people say thank you, right?
Usually, yeah.
Isn't it interesting though, when you're an artist? I think this is something unique to people that are creative that actually give things, because artists give things. They give things to people. They give away very important parts of them.
Yeah.
And I've often thought of the term "thank you" as like a little trophy that you get. You know, the term when people say thank you, when you give them some of your artwork, there's a little bit of dopamine fires off or something. There's there's something about that thank you that makes you chase more of it, which I think is inherent in us, is to give as humans, to want to give to each other. And I think that's an important thing to consider, that artists are giving in terms of what they're trying to do. They not only are they arrogant enough to think that they have something that's so worth showing other people, which is important, because humility never created anything great, right? And you need to have a bit of ego to be able to be brave enough to say, "Let me sing for you." There has to be.
Yeah, but you know
it's important.
What's really weird? Do you know what's really weird though? So I get what you're saying, and it makes sense in the context of the way that we have organized our lives, right? But the way it used to be, and probably the healthiest way that it should be in the future, is that we all do express ourselves. And if we're all expressing ourselves, we find our people more easily. We it would be so much more like the experience that I had opening the shop and then feeling afraid because I was expressing myself in a way that people don't. Like, no one goes this wild with a shop. Almost no one does this kind of thing.
Right.
And I specifically didn't want to model it on anything except the inside of my head for that reason. But it wasn't really about ego. It was about drawing in the people who would just naturally love it. And like, I don't hate the people who walk down the space outside the shop and hide their kids' eyes and shuffle them by really quickly. I don't hate them. They just have a completely different experience of life, and but I'm signaling the right thing so that they know right away that this is not the thing for them, And so like I kind of feel like expression is a signaling device, and we've lost that. So we think about it so much like it's ego, right? Like, you have to be egotistical to do this, and I have felt that exact same way. So I'm not disparaging that comment, but I've kind of grown to think about it more like, if we're not expressing ourselves, we're hiding ourselves from the world, and the world that we're supposed to have can't find us.
Yes, I agree with everything you said. Now let me counter your counter of my comment. But you're speaking as an active creative. You're speaking as someone who's always known this intellectually. You've always been aware of this and been confident and had this fire in you. There's a lot of people, especially young people, who have that also, but are afraid to express it.
Yeah.
And I think that feeling of the ego is repressed by people saying, "Don't be so like no, quiet down. Don't stop making a scene."
Yeah.
And I think that saying it's okay, because one of the things that it is a big goal of mine is to give people permission to do things. You need to, who am I to give you permission? Well, you know what? Everybody has the power to give somebody permission to express themselves in the room they're in. Yeah. Being okay with it, not quelling a kid or not quelling someone, or even, one of the things I love to do as a little hobby, I totally suggest everybody do this, is everybody needs to, especially young people, when you see a young or an old man or an old woman by themselves, go talk to them. Mm-hmm. Have a conversation with an old person.
Oh yeah, no, I'm aware that.
Yeah, I imagine you would be totally willing to do that. You always hear something worth hearing. They always have something worth hearing. They have a story. They share a thing. They're so happy to be talking most of the time. Mm-hmm. Even if they shush you off, it's kind of funny. So it's kind of cute. But I've had the most fascinating conversations, with older people where you just say, "How are you doing today?" And you start up a conversation, and that inspire something, inspire an idea. There's a story in my book came from a conversation that I had with an old man in Ireland. I had a conversation at a bar with a guy in Ireland. It was so weird. It was a wooden bar, and the stool it looked like it was made out of the same wood the bar was. And he was wearing a long coat that was the same color as the wood stool in the bar. He looked like he was placed there when they made the bar, and he never moved. And I had this long conversation with him, and everything he said was sarcastic, like everything. He was sarcastic, and it was so great. But I'll never forget that. And the only reason it happened is because I went up and asked a question, right? And I think that's kind of
what was your opening question when you started talking to him?
Oh, I don't know. I think, what are you drinking? I think it was, because I wasn't sure. I think what it was. It was, what kind of drink it was. And which is funny because I went to Scotland one time and I asked a guy, "Hey, what are the locals drinking?" And I'm like a tourist. "Oh, Scotland. Let's see what the bar is. What they're Budweiser and tequila." Like, what? No, but anyway, but that's digressing. But no, I think that's important. What you're saying, I get what you're saying, but it's an evolved way of looking at something. And I think that a lot of times, this is why people are shutting arts out in schools. It's because they don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah. They don't understand the value and the importance of that. And I think that there's steps that you need to take, stages.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying the first step is we have to give people the right to express themselves, because we're starting from such a repressed.
I think so.
I'm saying once you feel like you have that right, you have a responsibility to express yourself.
I love that. I love expressing it that way. It's your responsibility. If you can give back, you must give back.
Yeah.
And I think that is an important thing. And I think it's very valuable and stuff. I think that. I mean, were you a teacher?
No.
You sound like a teacher to me.
I'm a parent.
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
school my kids, so I'm a teacher.
I think you have a lot of insight and important creative values that I think that are. It's another. That's another. If I ever have time to write another book, one was going to be about creative value systems, like how creativity attached to a human value. It could be anything, you could take any value and attach being creative to it. But I think that's important. What is kind of so hey, before I forget, let's hear something. You got something to say?
Shoot, I should have thought of it. I can sing a little snippet of something. It's a song I've actually been listening to recently. It's made by someone who was inspired by older stuff, and it's new and I like it. It's called 100 Years by Oreo. Okay. It starts off with, "Why did you leave me? I'm still here wondering, 'cause I'm still in love with you." And I'm going to stop there because I'm not.
Wow. That was very good. And you have this. I don't know, what do you call that? Well, but right before you started, you did this thing? And,
Yeah, I
and
do.
while you,
Yeah, get everything in the inside working on.
okay, so that was great. That was that was beautiful. The beautiful sound and everything. Where are you at when you're doing that? Like, that's a weird question, but I don't know if you know.
So do you mean like mentally, emotionally?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm excited always because when people want to hear me sing, yes, always fun. I'm a tiny bit anxious, but I have turned that in myself into a driving force. Sort of like the spark of a lighter is the best way I can describe it. It's that little, just that tinge of anxiousness that makes me go and start.
Yeah.
So right then, I'm excited. I'm happy someone wants to hear, and I always want to give people an experience from that. Because singing is good and all,
sorry.
but no. But singing is good and all, but I want someone's day to be brighter for having heard it. So I want to do good.
Yeah. That's nice.
He's always been like that.
Yeah, you want to give, you're giving it like to people just to make them happy and everything. It's a very pleasant. You have a very pleasant voice, and I think that I didn't hear you last time, or I think we left before. I think you offered to sing.
Oh yeah, I think.
and then we had to go because we had to get going.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I'm sorry we did, because we would have enjoyed that. I think that's interesting, because just asking you what you're feeling, because again, I do these talks to for the people that are watching it, and I think that there's a lot of people that like to sing, privately or for themselves, and they're afraid to do it in front of people.
It's a
I've
met a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have somehow you tell strangers, you want to hear me sing? I mean, that's unique. That's unique. And
I do it walking down the street, man. Yeah.
When is the last time you remember feeling anxious about that?
Oh, geez, like genuinely anxious. I'd say like almost freezing up. It's probably been since I was like 17, I think, and you were like, you were like making some other awesome project. I can't remember which one. But there was all these creative people around. I knew there was like some musicians and stuff, and I was like, I want to do good. I want to make impressions. And I wasn't as good as I was now, but I wanted to but I was anxious because I didn't have this stuff down. But I still tried.
You'll never not be anxious, right? I think that's something
I
that's
have a little anxiety. Yes.
I mean, hell, I saw a documentary on the police and Stuart Copeland and Sting, and they're nervous, and they're the police.
Right.
So I don't think you're ever in a place where you don't feel that anxiety and that anxiousness. And I think that's a really important thing for people to realize, is that if you think you're ever going to get up to a level where you're not going to feel that doubt and that fear.
Oh yeah, it's strictly false.
And you say no to yourself because it scares you so much, or you don't think you'll ever get to a place where you don't feel that. That's the mistake artists make. Artists think
something driving force.
Right. Artists think that that'll go away. I don't think it ever goes away. I don't think that.
Not if you're doing it right.
No.
Right. If you're doing it right, like any type of art anyone makes who's worth their salt, they're feeling like, I wonder what they're going to think. I wonder what they're going to think. I'll bet you thought that when you told me to not touch the nipple or whatever. You were wondering how I was going to respond to whatever happened.
I think I was drinking a lot at that time. No.
Yeah, which is possible.
We all handle our fear in a different way. Okay? I'm joking.
But you guys are great, man, and I love your shop. I think your shop is great. I think that you are cool, and I think that you have a very, very important message to give through your shop and what you're trying to do with it. And I hope that people that see this get inspired, and I hope that people out there visit your place and experience it. I think that's really important. I wanted to ask if you had anything you wanted to share like websites or anywhere or places maybe they can hear more of his songs and stuff like that? Is there anything you guys want to share?
We don't have his stuff on yet. You don't? I thought you had a SoundCloud.
I don't. Like my SoundCloud, I had to delete it because it's a bunch of old bad garbage that I won't want.
No, never delete things.
I need to make new stuff.
Well, but we will be. We are working on. So the website is WeirdSistersFreakBoutique.com, and that's just the shop website. But we're working on right now, because of everything that's happening in the world right now, and we don't know if we're going to be shut down again. We're working on trying to take some of this onto that space. It's kind of hard to make an experience bar online, so we're working on it. But we will be having some videos and some live video and that sort of thing where he'll be performing.
Probably do some live
stream stuff. We'll be doing some of the experience bar things, through video and that sort of thing, to get people just a little taste of what they would see if they could come down here, which you can come down right now in small groups, and
right.
Yeah,
which is wear a mask.
Yeah, wear a mask.
Definitely. Yeah. So Sondra, when you were let's say 12 years old, like a 12-year-old girl, what would you say to yourself as a 12-year-old girl?
12 is a really hard time for a girl. 12's like that turning point time for girls in particular.
I know I have a daughter, so
yeah,
that's why I asked.
And it's really hard when you're a woman, this period of time between like 12 and 15 or so, if there's not somebody who is there to show you how it could be different, you kind of switch gears and go to this sort of common culture thing, which is I'm some sort of secondary person to somebody else, and you put yourself in this position where whatever you're interested in, you really do have to tamp it down. So I went through a period like most women did at that time, from like 12 to 14, where all the things I was really good at made me stand out too much, and I wasn't supposed to stand out. So you just brought back a really sad memory, actually, Alex.
Oh, no.
but I mean, I think it's something that
you
a
got
lot of
through it though. You got through it, right?
Yeah. There was just a certain point when that burden is just too heavy to carry, and it's not our burden to carry. You have to get to a certain place. I lucked out. So when I was 16, I don't know if we were already having the conversation or we were already on tape, but I had a stone sculpting apprenticeship when I was 16. So I lucked out. I took a class, and this great sculptor said, wow, you have a lot of talent and you should come do this thing. So I was able to go back to what one of my first loves was.
Well, what I was asking is what would you say to the 12-year-old? But I imagine that would be hang in there.
Yeah. Everything that happens in high school is completely different from the rest of the world.
Right.
Completely different. I mean, there are aspects of the rest of the world that are ridiculously like high school, but you get to choose when you leave high school. Like, you get to choose so much more. Why people choose to relive high school, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of high school, but
well, neither was I.
But there's so much out there in the world too, and sometimes it just it looks so small. These forces like high school can make the world look really, really small, but the reality is there are people out in the world doing crazy things, and there could be more people out in the world doing crazy things. And when you do it, like when you take make the effort to just express yourself, it really does pull the right kind of people to you. So I think
there it is.
I would have preferred to do that earlier, I think.
So that's my rewind moment.
Yeah.
Those do rewind moments. That's my rewind moment. There's weird people out there. You're not alone, weirdos. And and I think that's a great thing, because I think kids always feel like that's the last thing in the world they should be or are told they could be. And so many, I was one of those. I was this weird kid, and then I found out, oh, I can draw, and I like to draw. And then people started thinking, oh, that's the kid that can draw. And it wasn't like that's the weird kid. That's the kid that can draw. Right. And it became almost like the superpower kind of thing that you carried with you and everything. but that's cool. That's really cool, and I appreciate you guys making the time to chat with me.
Yeah,
and everything. And
well, thanks for having us.
And if I ever do my charter school, I'm going to call you.
Cool.
Have you come over and teach or lecture or do something? Figure something out. I think that's cool. I think that I think that you and I actually meet on our views on creativity and the value of creativity and the importance of it. I think it's really great. So I think that people need to go to your shop and they need to experience it and then bring kids in and show them and listen to some crooning because it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I'll be on guard.
No, expose them to some of those great oldies, you know what I mean? So, but that's fantastic. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.